I thought that building a website was about design. And what I've learned is that it's about being able to articulate what you represent. I have been in the process of having a website built for at least 6 to 8 months at this point, and I don't regret a moment of it. There was a time where I took 1 or 2 months off just to think about what I wanted this website to look like and how the aesthetic of the website was going to complement the sections of the website, the titles of those sections, the layout of the website, how people navigated through the website. 6 months ago, I had one idea in mind, and now I'm in a completely different place. I'm even working with a second website designer. And what it's forced me to do is just become really clear about what I'm trying to communicate and the language and words that I want to use to communicate that. And since I am someone building a brand, I guess you would call it, a business, um, it's important to me that my website, which is hallmark, I think, to, having a business, it's important to me that it looks professional, that there is an element of formality to it, but also some lightness and playfulness as well. It's important to me that people are able to navigate it pretty easily, not overly simplified. I want the design to invoke curiosity. I want people to want to click around and look at different tabs and pages. And I also want people to feel inspired to come back again. So getting to that place and knowing how all of those pieces were going to work together to form this ultimate project that is a finished website was really difficult, much more difficult than I had initially imagined. Because at first I was just kind of overly consumed with the colors that would be included on the website, the design, aspects of it, what the buttons would look like and logos and all those sorts of things. And not that that isn't important, that's really, really important too. But what is glitz and glamour and a nice layout without meaningful content? Especially a website that is representing a coaching business and a consulting business. I'm doing coaching and consulting. And while those are similar things, they're also very different. I'm offering a high level service to people with my individual coaching, programs and with business consulting. So my website needs to cater to people who are serious about making changes in their lives, to professionals, leaders, executives, CEOs, you know what I'm saying? Like it needs to draw those kinds of individuals because those are my ideal clients. And not every website aesthetic fits that kind of brand. And so I'd worked with someone initially who had a lot of skills to bring to the table, but they're very limited in their use of technology. They relied heavily on Canva. And I know that there's been a lot of websites developed through Canva and a lot of wonderful things that you can do in Canva. I've used Canva before. But what I was being presented with was just not at the standard that I wanted for my website. It was a little bit too, there were like animations and it definitely wasn't as professional as I needed it to be. and very limited in its capacity. Like she didn't really know how to um, build in certain things that I need. Like I need an option for people to purchase packages if they're interested, to contact me for a consultation, um, to have downloadable features for free items that I'm offering. Like all these different things need to be possible right there on the website. And they just really didn't know how to do that, right? It was like it was going to be all these other layers, and I mean, we probably would have had to work together for 2 years in order to even get to a point where it was going to be what I wanted. So I had to move on from that person, and now I'm working with someone who lives abroad, lives in another country, who specializes in website design. This is her particular expertise and job. She's built like websites for Spotify and all that. Like she's done some incredible work. And one thing that we've kind of had to go back and forth about is that I don't want all the moving pieces of a Spotify website. Like that is a lot going on, with those kinds of websites. I wanted mine to be a little more simple than that, not too simplistic, but definitely not a bunch of moving pieces that's confusing and overwhelming to people. So we're at the stage now where we're kind of making it a little bit less busy. And I'm also developing the content pieces for each of the sections of the website. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I've really spent hours thinking through different sections of the website and the text that I wanted to include, because I also don't want my website to have a whole lot of text. I don't want people to be reading a book, trying to get through the website. And in order to do that, I need to be very concise, but also be able to adequately communicate what needs to be communicated in those sections. And that takes a little bit of time to finesse. So right now, that's kind of where I am. I'm building out the text for each of the sections. And it's taken a good amount of time, but I think I'll have that completed soon. And I just really developed an appreciation for what it takes to really build a good website, and the importance of a website for an organization, a business, and how a website also represents you as a person behind it, as the name on it. Mine is going to be EvelynMReynolds.com. It's going to be representing me. So something that's going to be representing me needs to be doing it well and doing it right, So I am happy to take the time and to pay people to make sure that it is the quality that I want and at the standard that I want and at the standard of the clients that I also want to attract. And I know a lot of people have been able to create websites through AI technology. And I've made many videos about AI, so you can check those out and my thoughts on AI. I use AI technology in a lot of different ways. I also understand its contradictions and its issues. I'm not someone who uses it for every single thing. And this is one of those things. The website build is something that I wanted to hire a person to do. And it's also not something I wanted to try to do on my own, because I know that's not my wheelhouse, right? So I wanted to hire a human being to do that, because although I've seen numerous websites that are fabulous that have been built through different AI tools, and some of these websites are, representing people that have very successful careers, millionaires, and everything else, and they're nice websites, but very few that are similar to the brand that I'm building have been represented in those AI built websites. And it could be possible. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying that I haven't really come across a lot of AI built websites that really look like what I am going for. There's something about the human eye when it comes to this sort of thing that can identify, okay, this is the kind of layout that feels welcoming, the kind of layout that's attractive, intriguing, engaging, it makes people want to do a certain thing, or want to come back again, and revisit the website. I think that humans know those sorts of things that AI doesn't, right? That AI hasn't gotten to that point yet, where humans understand the human experience, right? We know what we like, we know what things are sensational, what things trigger emotions, what things encourage us to act. Those are our human nature components. And that's what I need behind my website, or even, for me, landing pages, sales pages. I'm going to hire people to do those sorts of things because that's where I have seen the best quality for a brand like mine. And I even paid someone recently for professional photographs. Even though I know how to create great images and photos using AI technology, there's still something really special about a professional photographer and the kinds of photos that they can render. So I will always happily invest my money into paying people to do certain things. And this is definitely one of them when it comes to my website. So I'm really excited about what's being developed, here, and I can't wait to show it to you all, to show it to the world. And I'm just so excited and happy that I took the time to just pause and really think about, what am I doing here? What am I going for? What am I trying to communicate? How is this going to represent me? What is this going to look like to my target audiences? Because I could have had this done months ago if my standards weren't as high, and if I just wanted to have it done just to have a website up. And that pressure is real, when you are someone in my position where, I've had a career for nearly 20 years, a teaching career. Now I'm moving into my own, business of coaching and consulting. And there is a lot of eyes on me and people kind of curious about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, if I should be doing it, and whether they should take me seriously. And, this website is a big part of that for me. And it's not something that I wanted to rush. So I'm happy that I was able to put that pressure aside to just put it out there because, for a while I was feeling kind of embarrassed that I didn't have a website. And I'm like, oh, I guess I just have to give them my LinkedIn, page, which is phenomenal. My LinkedIn page is lit. It's great. And I think it does actually represent me well and communicate my work well. But it's not a website, right? So I was feeling kind of, bad about that for a while. Like, how can I be taken seriously in this arena if I don't even have a website? But I said, that's fine. I am going to make sure that when I launch this thing, it is at the standard that I want it to be. And it's getting there. And when it's done, it absolutely will be, because it won't launch until it is absolutely the way that I want it to be. So, take the time to build things out and really think through the details of anything that you're trying to put out to the world, whether it's a YouTube video or a business that you're starting or a Substack or whatever, creative project you might be working on. I know that you're probably facing a lot of pressures and people's expectations and all of these different things, but you have to get grounded in yourself and what you know and what you want and what your vision is, and do what's necessary to bring that to light. Because if you don't, you're probably going to regret it. And you're probably going to end up spending more money than you needed to, wasting time, and all these sorts of things that you could have avoided if you hadn't rushed. So that's the big takeaway. I learned that building a website is so much more than this visual page or this link that you share with people related to your brand or your business, that it actually is a representation of who you are. It is a massive tool of communicating what your services are, what you're offering, who you are helping and supporting, what outcomes you can provide for people. Your website should do all of those things if it's a website like mine. And that's usually not something that you can do in a few days or even a week. Um, so that's the big takeaway. It's far bigger than design alone. Design is connected to who you are and the actual work that you do. So thanks for watching. This is Class with Prof. Eve, where we think about these kind of social dynamics and we think about human behavior and the structures and systems that we live in and try to make sense of them and be able to navigate the world in a way that feels good to us and a way that is meaningful. Subscribe if this is the kind of content that you are interested in. Like this video if you like this video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.